stupid video on a stupid subject. Here we go! User666 is a meme on the internet, not a real thing. Well, it can be. Many websites understood the need to have some website names reserved. Now, originally, if you're not aware of it, most websites encouraged you to use a unique ID code or name. And the web server and website management system would give you a ID code. This might be a really long string of characters that you can see on the end of a channel name a lot of the time. Now, YouTube had a problem in that they encouraged people to give themselves unique IDs originally, and also use the not-so-secret UC code for the user channel code, which then gave way to also using C or U or channel as a prefix. User is actually pretty old, but not the oldest method. When YouTube first started, some of the channels were done by a sort of a quasi-search function rather than giving them a unique URL, which meant some YouTube users didn't have a unique domain name-ish kind of thing where you could click on something and always go to them. So sharing your channel rather than individual videos may or may not have worked. And again, at the time, this was considered premium stuff. And also, it should be noted, at the time, if you're not aware of it, YouTube was originally a dating site. So anyway, a user or account named 666 could be as simple as being literally a lie all the way to being real. As a channel, it did exist only at, on, or before 2011, but was a blank channel the entire time, and or was erased for objectionable content. Specifically, the most likely answer here is commenting. Posting comments that were off topic or off color would get your channel taken down if you never uploaded anything. Ever since 2009, that day, the archive wayback YouTube, archives and waybacks for YouTube, subdomains, pages, and channels for URLs, not user URL, have shown that it never existed, and or it was also erased as well, but it always shows that it doesn't show up. It just says, I can't find it. It never says or puts up the screen, this page has been blanked. It should be pointed out, if a page was shut down for a specific violation, even in the early days, it would tell you what it was to try to publicly shame you, which backfired on YouTube and Google when they make a mistake and claim that someone did something that was literally something you could take them to court over. In 2022, May 23rd, memorize, it showed up as a C, which is a short form channel that had been created and or renamed sometime after 2018, November 21st. And it was under Nix, with a Z, 9, Greg 223, and the number 666. And this was sometime after, maybe kind of sort of the TheTekkitRealm posted a video about the subject, so someone got the bright idea of creating a channel name that way. Please understand that, again, the website might have had it in its best interest to not show channels with names or ID codes that would be problematic for people to view. It should also be pointed out, at one time, you could name your channel something that would amount to, you could kind of sort of insert characters that wouldn't normally be allowed and try to get that to work. A lot of people tried to do that. They would insert JavaScript instructions. That's why, till to this day, if you put up a video and include less than or greater than symbols, they're excluded. You're not allowed to do that. I can't put a greater than or less than symbol in the description on the video sometimes because it'll, at all actually, or some other symbols, because it says you cannot put in brackets or something else, and it's because of JavaScript. People would insert in their description for the video a JavaScript instruction that would try to crash their a viewer's browser or inject a virus. So they excluded it so long ago, it's kind of known. Also, now, if you put in certain URLs, YouTube will play lame and refuse to let you do it, even if they're allowed, because now it blocks you from putting in URLs, links to websites that they don't like, rather than punishing you later. Which I guess is helpful, but it could just say, you've inserted a URL that's excluded, don't put it in, please edit your description. Now I'm going to show you where user 666 really came from. Now this is the archive.ph version of the Google Trends page. And it shows a spike November 2016, and it shows you that the United States was not really involved in this becoming popular. It was mostly Vietnam, followed by Thailand, and then Indonesia. And that was for user 666, all one word, with no space between. And when you put a space between it, it was actually less likely to show up or zeroed out or no data. But if you put space between it and included YouTube, user 666, YouTube, almost exclusively is an Indonesia thing. Now, there's a whole bunch of stories and ideas of what this came from, and I've read them somewhere, just like a lot of you, but user space 666 space YouTube as a string to look for and or stories about had peaks somewhere 2015, 2016 as well, but this was being done apparently by people in Indonesia for a long, long time, like 2007 forward, and it's just become less interesting. Let's say we want to find a YouTube user. These days we put in youtube.com/user/ the name of the channel. And if you put an asterisk after it, that's a wildcard, at least on the Wayback Machine. And it shows you all the different versions of channels that were allowed to name themselves with a username WAPTEK. Now in here, you might notice that I've typed in my channel name. Now this should work for every other version of it. The one you won't see here, and this is rather interesting to me, is my original username, which was just WAPTEK. That was erased and destroyed, and it was done with a slightly different version of this kind of format. So let's look at other methods. And yes, if I change it from WAPTEK to any other combination, I get more of them. Right now it just shows 20 backup copies from 2012 all the way to 2017. It doesn't show my current user accounts at all, so I will go ahead and correct that eventually, I guess. But anyway, let's move forward. Now, if we put in com underscore or dash, or we put in 666, we find the information, obviously. But here's one for com test. This was a channel that was supposed to exist, supposed to be really important and very, very, And the thing is, in order to get a username to be a short URL like that, instead of just a string of random numbers, you had to have a certain number of viewers and a certain number of videos. And then you could stake it out. And we'll be looking at that one in a second. But it shows 3 captures from 2020. So it's not an old channel any more than the 666 one is. Now, here's where we do something a little weird. There's 496 URLs. This is the old way they would show your channel. You would do profile underscore videos.php, and it would also be profile.php, etc. That's how YouTube originally did it in the old days. All the way back in 2005, there's a user being looked for and being archived through archive.org. Here's Jay Bucky, Amy Spear, Mona, and there's Jawad. That's one of the first, if not the first channel that existed. And this is all in a very short period of time. People were doing these, seeing if they could get archive.org to archive things. And there's a variation of it where it has the ID code :80 after .com. That's for port 80, specifying the default port most of the time. And here's a version without that, and it still shows the same order, and there's Jawad right there. So let's go back and look at the COM test here. Let's see if it'll open it. I don't know if this is going to work. And we go back to 2020, and we see if we got anything here, and it says, nope, broken. Then it says here, nope, broken. And it says, nope, broken. Okay, and we look here, broken. Yeah, because someone tried to archive it doesn't necessarily mean it was there. So that means in 2020, approximately August 19th, 2020, someone tried to look that up and try to find it. And it wasn't there. Now we're going to do user 666. And we're going to look there. Now it might bring up something useful. Here's 2011. Now, these all indicate in general that there isn't anything there to look at. I mean, there is, but there really isn't much or anything at all. And remember, user accounts had to exist because YouTube's rules were set a certain way, that you had a bunch of videos uploaded. You could decide to upload a bunch of videos, get a bunch of viewers, and then kill off all the videos and hope everybody went away. And then after a while, if everybody unsubscribed for some reason, most people are lazy and don't even do that, then you could try archiving it here to prove you had a user account with no viewers, I suppose. Maybe that'd be a feather in your cap. Maybe proof of hacking or something mysterious on the internet. Nope, this is YouTube solved, not unsolved. So we go all the way to 2014. Do we see user 666 showing up? Now remember, I showed you the other methods for looking for it. I can't narrow it down better than that because it won't let me. Now we go, well, nope. Again, nope. So it's a big bunch of nopes. In 2017, let's see if we got a channel. Oh, we finally have one. So let's assume that that one's valid and go back to 2016 and look in December, because that's how we narrow this down. So how far back do we have to go before user 666 shows up and is a real channel? July 26th at about, let's do 1700 hours. The account's been terminated for violating YouTube and Google's terms of service. Generic answer. And this one's in Spanish. So our earliest occurrence of any channel being there was it being up just long enough for it to be shot down, and it didn't have any content. Now, I'm going to leave a link to Social Blade, see if it still has a page up, but this does not indicate, especially with the icon and such, this does not indicate strongly that the channel ever had any video content or anything. So if you came here about user 666 or COM TEST, which is another channel that people would look up, well, nothing's there. And this is the profiles PHP thing I showed you. If you try to put anything after that, I mean, I did. It'll bring up 496 videos or channels. That's about it. I'll leave a link to this as well in the description. But yeah, the point is that the user 666 and the other one called COM TEST really aren't what people talk about them being on YouTube. And yeah, it was probably killed off because of commenting. The only other thing that would get you kicked off of YouTube, and you could have a blank channel to do this, is if you went around and harassed enough people or insulted enough people, you get removed. Now let's go back one more notch before July 26, 2016, and sit here. And yeah, it says that it's, well, let's go all the way back. Let's see how far back we have to go before it. Oh, there it is. So sometime before 2016 it was killed off. I'll find the exact date and I'll put a link to that in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.